Hey, good morning, everyone, or good evening, good afternoon, depending where you are. This is really early for me. It's like 7 a.m. for me. Oh, well, 7:05. I'm sorry for starting late. If you guys are my regular live streamers, you know I always start late. I'm sorry. But for a lot of you, this is a good time slot, it looks like. I just skimmed the chat, but I'm so glad everybody's here that I don't normally see. I don't, some of you are here though. Jonas is here. Wow. Okay. And Serge, Beryl. Wow. Awesome. But there's some other people here like Deb and Liz and Beryl and who else is here? Um, oh, John Follows is here, but you're always here. That's awesome. Wow, literally just woke up like 20 minutes ago and and got my pot of coffee, but when I was doing the live streams, there's some people that used to come like pretty regular, but then they stop, and which is fine. But I found out is mostly because it was like 2 in the morning for them, or 5 in the morning, or whatever it is. It's like a weird time slot out there in Sydney, Australia, or anywhere in Australia, really, in that whole time zone. I think. Uh, God, I was looking Indonesia. There's a bunch of other places over there that uh I thought I'd, just get up early and see if I could talk to you guys because um yeah, it's hard. I was debating whether to do this like at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, or 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening. If I do it in the evening my time, then a lot of you are going to work. If I do it in the morning, a lot of you are maybe going to bed, but it's not so late, right? And uh the other thing is but then it's so early for me. I'm not used to getting up this early. I usually roll out of bed like 8:39, sometimes 10. It's a little embarrassing, right? Because as a working professional photographer, uh, which means you really have no work at all. You have your own schedule basically, right? But um, oh, Indri, you're from Indonesia. That's awesome. I actually did have a job Monday where I had to do some video work, which I'm not accustomed to, believe it or not. And I do the vlogging, and I do the I do the tutorials and things, but um those are under either controlled conditions like in my fake studio behind me, and then if I'm vlogging, it doesn't really matter, it's more about the pictures I take while I'm vlogging. And the jibber jabber, what's going on around me. But when you have to do a job, right? It's like you have to do everything right. Like when I take pictures, I do architectural photography, right? Or real estate photography, depending on what you guys call it wherever you are. Um it's very similar product photography where you have to get the colors right, you have to get your lines straight, you have to uh, minimize distortion, and you have to be able to present the product in the best light possible. And I have a lot of control over the light and the camera because I'm on a tripod, and I can use flash to kind of make the colors match up, and I can do multiple images, and I can shoot in raw. But with video, with at least the Olympus line, uh well, video in itself presents a couple of challenges. One is you can't really control the lighting in large spaces like in architectural photography. Outdoors, yeah, it's fine, but indoors there's all kinds of mixed lighting, particularly in offices and things. Like I was doing an office um where you usually have nice, good, bright sunlight coming in, And then you have a lot of artificial lighting indoors, which is all mixed up in terms of white balance, because they use those 4-foot long fluorescent tubes a lot of times. People don't know what they're doing. They just buy fluorescent tubes, so a lot of times they're all mixed up. Sometimes you have warmer fluorescence, sometimes you have cooler fluorescence, sometimes they're all mixed up within the same lighting structure. And so it was and because I can't even shoot in RAW, right? I'm shooting video. I don't have you can't like pop a flash and correct all of that lighting with a flash. You have to record with the lighting you have in the office space. And I'm not, they didn't pay me enough for me to bring tons of lighting and a crew and all of that like you would on a movie studio set, right? Oh, so yeah, it was hard. I had to do a lot of correction and post processing on the lighting because the fluorescent lighting was making everything look green. And then I had the natural sunlight coming in that was making everything blue. And it was a pretty open space where the stuff oh my God. Anyway, so it was very, very good new experience for me. I mean, I've done videos before. I've really only done a couple of corporate videos, but none of them were, they were just slideshows of images that I took, which were easy, right? But this time they said they'd really like sort of a walkthrough, and they want real videos. They don't want a slideshow of the images. So I I said, yeah, how hard can that be, right? So I got my slider, which I've never used. I bought a slider, if you know what that is, where you slide the camera back and forth. And and I used my actually it's right here because I haven't even I just used this little thing. It has a gimbal on it to record the video. Because when you're on a slider or whatever you're on, this thing will automatically level and straighten and everything. So I don't have to use I can't even see the bubble levels on my tripod because everything's so tiny. But yeah, so I use this. But anyway, that's my little story. I'll probably have to share this again on Thursday when I do my regular, because the reason I think I explained why I'm in this time slot. It's for a lot of you guys that haven't been coming to the live streams because of the other 2 time slots I have. So I'm not sure I can do this one like every week. I'm not sure what day I can do it on, but usually about the night before, if I can go to bed early enough, I can, I didn't go to bed till about 1 in the morning. So I've only gotten like 5 hours of sleep, or 5.5. But yeah, it's now 7:14 in the morning here. Somebody was asking. But okay, it says John Matthews, how are you? You're always in my other streams too, and I'm surprised you're here this early. And John's asking me, what are your thoughts on shooting JPEG only in the hopes of improving your exposure technique? I think as a I'd say, give me a second. My gears haven't started, the coffee hasn't kicked in. I guess it's one way, it's really how does everybody's brain work, right? If that thought process or that workflow will help you improve getting your exposures more correct in camera, it's fine, right? Because yeah, you're definitely limited to about 8 stops maximum in a JPEG, whereas technically in a RAW you can go 12 to 14 stops depending on the camera. And you shoot in RAW with usually the intent to post-process and make any minor corrections that you need to. You shoot with that intent. But in JPEG, obviously you don't have as much control. You're limited to 8 stops, which is really, in theory, plenty, but it's not. And you lose a lot of the color information. So if you get the white balance wrong, I'd say white balance is more of a problem than uh, exposure range, because you can still bracket JPEGs. Because honestly, even with a raw image, if you're off by more than 2 stops, um, it's a problem. It's a problem. There are people that say, yeah, I can save a picture that was 5 stops underexposed with my, D810 or whatever, their full frame camera. But trust me, there's no joy in that. You really don't want to get the exposure off by that much. More than 2 stops, doesn't matter what camera, you're going to start to run into problems of getting a deliverable image, at least in terms of professional work. For, just enthusiast type work where you're just out having fun, if you're off by 2 stops, you can usually correct it enough with Micro Four Thirds, with full frame, even with my TG5, my cell phone, whatever. Within 2 stops, that it's close enough, but you could still run into problems by forcing yourself to use JPEG, and examining those images. You can, I guess, if that works for your brain or your workflow to get your exposures more correct, why not? For me, it wouldn't really matter, because a lot of times on the back of the screen is the JPEG image, and then you have the highlight shadow warnings that you can use. So I would say, honestly, you can shoot RAW plus JPEG, which is what I do normally, and just look at the back of the screen. Chimp every image and look at the histogram and see, because the histogram on the camera is based on the JPEG image, and see if the exposure looks technically correct. You have that nice bell curve, right? And also check to see if it looks good on the back of the screen. It's like, I'm not a big fan of histograms personally. I just like to look at the image and see if it looks like what I want. And I think it'll help you to learn the limits of a camera, right? What's doable, regardless of the brand. But it's not necessary to shoot JPEG only. You can shoot RAW and see what it's like when you have to push and pull highlights and shadows in post processing, and learn that way, right? But if you're not into post processing at all, shooting JPEG and working with that is fine too. So I don't know. I hope that helps. Like I said, I'm still a little groggy. You can probably hear my voice is still kind of crackly. I think someone did a video. I thought I saw a thumbnail. Did Robin or Peter do a video on that, or Jimmy, recently on shooting JPEG to improve your photography? It sounds familiar. I haven't seen it obviously, but those are my thoughts. Okay. Ugh. I need to stretch out my skin a little. I haven't done my stretches yet. Hi, Peter. How are you? No, it's early morning for me. Leon, Rob, do you not using any video light attached on the hot shoe for pro work? No, that would not be sufficient. There was way, that office. Let me see if I can show you a couple of shots. It's not enough. You need a lot more light. John Allen, how are you? Yes, I will show you the video. And let's see. If anyone is interested, just ordered a dummy battery. Oh, okay, thanks. From AliExpress. I've seen it, Peter, the dummy battery. We'll also add a box. When that comes in, Peter, and it works well, I mean, not like one time, but you've used it a few times, and it's working well, definitely share that with everybody this weekend, or next weekend, whenever you get a chance. Because a lot of people ask me about dummy batteries for their cameras, and it's not something I do because I just don't do long exposures. Let's see. An 18650 How many of those does it use though? Because 18650 is only 2000 milliamps, which is like really only a little more than uh, well, I guess it's almost double the normal battery capacity of the Olympus batteries. But I don't know if it has the same true capacity. I don't know if it's that simple that you can look at the capacity like it's a 2000 milliamp 18650 at 3.2 volts or whatever the voltage is. I can't remember. And then you start stacking those if in theory that would be the same or better by that magnitude. Uh, Batteries have discharge rates and things like that kind of in their chemistry, right? But anyhow, let us know, Peter, either this weekend or next weekend. You know, definitely get back to us on that. And Beryl says, I posted a forum about another power bank recharge EM13 and ran the camera from the power bank or its charger. Okay, good, Beryl. Yeah, I'll check that out. I mean, basically, yeah, I think all you need is like a 60-watt PD compatible power bank. And at the time, uh, I bought the wrong one the first time. It was only a 30-watt power bank. So I decided to just go ahead and buy the recommended power bank that was 60 or 90 watts. I forget exactly. I think it's a 60 watt. And it worked fine. So, but yeah, no question. There's probably other brands, other power banks out there, plenty of them, probably at 60 watts, because a lot of laptops use the 60 watt. Oh, expected delivery end of August. Okay, Peter. Yeah. Okay, so next month, early September. But you know, I've ordered things from not AliExpress, but the stuff that came from China, right? And it would take, sometimes it took 2 weeks, sometimes it took, 5 weeks. It's very random. I guess depends how it gets here. Usually they put it on a ship, right, with containers, and if it doesn't sink on the way over, it's fine. I shouldn't say that. That's bad. Uh, would not wish that on anybody for their ship to sink in the middle of nowhere. And John says, I'd like to move to a no post workflow also for understanding video too, just like what you were talking about in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, then still I would shoot JPEG plus RAW just to get a feel for the limits of the camera. So you can go back to the RAW as a reference if you want to learn more even about your JPEGs. Because sometimes even in RAW you can't correct the right white balance, because the lighting's all wonky. And so it's not the JPEG's fault. It's nothing you did wrong, right? Something was wrong with the scene. So having the RAW there to see if you can fix it in RAW, if you couldn't fix it in JPEG, will also help you learn about your JPEGs, right? And your technique and etc. So if you're looking at a JPEG and the white balance is not right, because it's not always just exposure. Sometimes the white balance is weird. If you're in the sun and there's a lot of shade and there's light bouncing off of different colors, the white balance can be real screwy. And so you can say, God, I couldn't fix it. What did I do wrong? And you'll never get it right shooting JPEG only. So you need to look at the raw image and see if you're able to save it there. And then you can say, okay, it's not my fault. It was the you can blame it on the scene, right? That's kind of uh kind of cheating your way out of that. Uh but honestly, that is the case sometimes. Sometimes even in RAW you can't save the image, so that tells you that either you were way off or the scene was way off. um and Rod says Cloud never prevented the picture. Rod says he was trying to get a picture of the Neowise, but the cloud cover prevented the picture. Oh, okay, Rod. Yeah, you were having a hard time with the time slot too, right? Oh, because, yeah, come to think of it, I haven't seen you in a stream in a long time either. Um, wow. I don't even know how many people are really on right now. But let me see if I can pull up that video because I kind of talked about it for a long time and then you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? Give me a second here. It helps to see the video that I'm talking about if you know, because how would you learn anything from just a lecture on how hard it was for me? And you know, I like to think I'm a fairly competent photographer, but video, it's definitely in a controlled situation I can get it. Like this live stream, right? I got lots of lighting, I have a green screen, you know, I'm all fancy, right? But doing live, like doing video like in a spot I never been to before. Where did I put it? It's on my D drive under work. And hopefully the sound doesn't. I'm gonna stay silent a second. Oh, I can mute it. All right, hold on. It's playing. Let me reset it. How do I get it to show you guys? I wonder. Where is the button for that? Maybe I can do this one. My little webcam instead of a legit cam. Of course, now I can't see. So yeah, so basically I'm on a tripod at this point, right? Just kind of rotating it on a tripod, but I have it extended out so that it's not a simple pan, but it's panning kind of in a wider angle. It's hard to tell sometimes that that's the case. Like I didn't do as good a job as I wanted to here. Here I'm just kind of panning up. Uh, I kind of panned up and tilted at the same time. This is another simple pan. And you see this wall here? These walls are actually a very light blue. But in the video, there's kind of a mix, like uh, over here it looks light blue, but kind of like here looks light blue, but then over here kind of looks a little bit greenish. Because this lighting here is all fluorescent, right? And again, the walls here, they look very blue over here because of the sun coming in. And then over here, where there's not a lot of sun, they look kind of greenish. And I really tried to color correct this best I can. But this is what I'm talking about. Now let me pause here. You see the kitchen here has very warm fluorescent lighting in it. So that's why it looks so warm here. And then over here, you have the sun coming in, which is very blue, right? I mean, you normally you can correct for this in photography very easily, but in video, everything's mixed up. I mean, even in photography, like I don't normally take these two rooms together, but I do have to deal with situations where the lighting is mixed like this in a very dramatic way. And then of course, you know, the dynamic range is nothing like it is. Okay, right here's a good example. See how the walls are very blue here? This is the actual color of the wall. But back here, I got a mixture of green and yellow. And, you know, I just don't have, look how big this space is. This is 4,000 square feet. I don't know how you guys measure in other countries, but we do this in square footage. It's huge. There's no way for me to bring enough lighting, right? And then if you look at the fluorescent, each of these, there's 40 watts times 4. So what's that? 160 watts of per uh, fixture, right? And you multiply this by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's 6 across at least. I didn't count the across. Let's say it's another 6. 6 by 6. But anyway, you get the idea, right? I can't see you guys with this on. All my pop-ups here. Let me switch back. There we go. I hope there was sound while I was doing that. Earth to Space Station, Rob just came back in trying to capture. Oh, sorry, I read that. Yeah, Rod. I don't treat myself to beer more than like 3-4 times a year. It's yeah, I destroyed my liver when I was younger, so it's definitely anyway, white balance. What white balance were you? I was just using auto white balance on the camera on this thing. This is what I used. I've used my Olympus before for another video, and you know, but it wouldn't matter because it would run in terms of white balance, it would run into the same issue. It had a little better quality, but not a lot better because it's still shooting video, which is essentially a JPEG. So this gave, you know, this little tiny thing does 4K, a relatively flat profile, so I can color grade it to some extent. And you know, the depth of field is huge because it's a tiny sensor. So even this I prefer over Micro Four Thirds, and because of the little gimbal on it, right? Really makes doing those slide action moves where you're using the slider and panning and things really smooth out a lot easier than with the camera. But yeah, Sonny, yeah, RAW would help in a fixed situation, right? And if you have really expensive slider gear so that everything is perfectly smooth, and you have these, you know, these big Ronin gimbals and things, like, you know, like real professionals, not like me, right? I mean, I'm a professional, but I'm not spending, you know, $10,000-$15,000 on gear. I'm not at that level, you know. I'm not this big company. It's just I'm a guy with a camera, right? Somebody asked me to do video. I said, okay, I'll do a video. So I bought this thing too. This sucks. It's great for actually 360 video and a few other things like in video world. But in photography, oh my god. I could not believe how bad this was. I'm anyway, because this would solve a lot of my problems if it took good pictures, because it takes really good video. Okay, thanks. So you were able to hear me while I was talking, because I was trying to explain what was going on in the scene. Yeah, you never use auto white balance during. John Matthews says, I never use auto white balance in video with Olympus. It wants to change a lot during filming. Impossible to color correct. For video, I choose. Yeah. That's, you know, this thing I don't think has custom white balance, where I can take a picture of a white card or a gray card and get the white balance correct. And I'd have to do that for every single scene. And as you can see, though, the white balance in that room was all over the place. You know, I had very warm tungsten type color. I had regular sunlight coming in, and then I had the freaking fluorescence, which was making everything green. And you know, you just can't buy enough wattage. What did I say? It was 6 times 6, 6 by 6 in that one room in terms of lighting fixtures, and then each lighting was 40 watts times 4. So that's 5,760 watts of lighting. 5,760 watts of lighting. And never mind the sun coming in, because that's tens of thousands of watts, right? And effectively, even with the shading. You know, if I could have closed the blind, you know, that's something I need to think about next time. Maybe shut the blinds so I only have one source of light, right? But even then, the fluorescent lighting was all mixed up. They mixed tungsten and white together. You know how it is, right? You buy fluorescent lighting. How many times do you go in an office and this fixture has mixed, you know, yellow and white, blue lights in the fluorescent? Han, how are you? Rod, you put a lot. Rod said he recorded a music video the other day and had white balance problems, so he ended up slapping extreme light in DaVinci to hide the changes. Yeah. Yeah, I can't get creative with that, you know, my photography, right? It has to be accurate and representative of the property. Yeah, but film is generally very hard to color correct. And Leon says, Rob, Panasonic being the better video-oriented camera, have you ever thought of using a G85, or is that camera not up to par? Yeah, it wouldn't matter because the video is all JPEG, basically quality. I did shoot with my EM1 Mark III. That's what I shot with the video or the images with at the site. But whatchamacallit? And it has an OM log 400, which is good for exposure, right? Yeah, I can do a little bit. I can get a little more reach on the exposure with the OM log, but it doesn't solve my white balance issue, right? So and honestly, I didn't bring my heavy tripod to put the slider on. I just used my normal tripod, not my skinny one that I use most of the time, but I have another tripod that's sort of just medium duty. And then I have my heavy duty tripod behind me. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of, it's, well, it's back there. You know, it's like a legit video tripod. You know, it has a nice video gear head. I didn't want to bring all that, you know. If they paid me a lot more, I would have, yeah, gone all out. But you know, those are generally for video. You need to be charging, man. For the video I made, I didn't charge much. I charged only $100, right? It took me about 30 minutes of filming on a slider, and I charged so little because that guy helped me get started in this profession. That particular agent, he's been really good to me, so I always cut him. But you really should be charging about $300 for a video like that. And then if you're gonna go all out, gimbal, gear heads and things, and lighting, you know, you need to be charging $800, $1,000 for a couple of minute video. And then if there's gonna be, you know, and I'm just telling you this from other YouTube videos I watched. So I'm paraphrasing a lot of things that I've seen, because if you start watching videos on what you should charge for video work, but then you have to you know, sometimes they want the video for different formats, right? Instagram stories, Facebook, etc. So you charge each additional thing. Hi Rob, what is the solution external audio for the EM10 Mark II? Injury, really you have to record separately. That's the best way. I use this. I use this VP10 from Olympus. It's actually, but there's other types of mics. It's a little hard to find the pen style microphones, and it has a little flip switch here on top. And if you watch some of my older vlogs before I got my EM5, you'll see this little thing clipped to my thing, and then you have to synchronize that audio with the video in post-processing. And there's a little bit of learning curve and workflow that you have to get used to. But once you get used to it, it's very easy to do in post-processing. If you don't want to do that, you want to record straight into the camera during the video, a higher quality audio. I'll have to talk about that in another video. I touched in it in one of my videos, but it's not really, I didn't do a good job on it. But it involves using a separate speaker. Oh, here's one. I must have been trying it again recently. It's all dusty. That's embarrassing. Anyway, it involves using like a little, like these Bluetooth speakers, but don't use the Bluetooth part because there's an audio lag. But a speaker has a separate jack, and you mount that with, you know, like a cell phone holder, because this is only about the same size as a lot of cell phones. You mount it like right here, speaker facing into the microphone jacks on the camera, right? Once you have the speaker blasting into the microphones, I mean, you're not going to, you have to adjust everything so it doesn't clip the audio. You plug in your microphone directly into this. Now generally it has to be powered microphone, because this doesn't generate its own power too much. It doesn't generate its own mic power, so you have to have it, the mic has to have its own power. But typically what I do is I use a wireless microphone system, and I'm trying to put together a cheap system where, you know, you can buy these for $10, $15 all day long, right? These little mini speakers. And there's a wireless audio mic that I have that only costs about $30, at least at the time, because things seem to have gone up in price lately, right? Stuff coming from China, at least for me. But it's about a $30 wireless mic solution that I think would work. And that will generate enough power to drive enough sound for the camera to hear. But it works. I've done a few test runs with it, and it works. And you can walk around and get clear audio. You just have, you know, you just have to do a few other things, like if it's windy outside, if you're outdoors and it's windy outside, oh, this is why I always have thumbprints on my lens, because I hold the camera like this. Anyhow, so you put little wind muffs on top of these speakers so that when the wind blows, you know, you don't get the wind noise, but you still get all the sound from the speaker, right? But that's the general idea. I mean, and that, so you might be able to put something together yourself, but I'm gonna try and do a video. I've been promising for like a year, but I want to try to do a video where where I actually test it and use it in the video, and it works fine. The few test runs I've done, it's worked fine. I ran into those issues with Bluetooth, the audio lag, you know, the lip syncing issue. So I tried going into getting the Audio X or whatever that other protocol is for Bluetooth, and that solution got a little bit expensive, right? And clumsy, because either you have to buy a speaker that has this extra special Bluetooth that doesn't have the lip syncing issue, which is expensive, or you have to buy separate devices, which, you know, add up. And by the time you're done, you might as well just bought a camera with a mic jack. So I'm trying to come up with a solution that's around $50, you know, that you'll be able to use no matter what camera you buy in the future, because you can use it just as a regular speaker for your phone or whatever, right? Okay, so that's that. Rob, do you think, where was the microphone question? Because I don't want to miss anyone here. Rob, do you think that Han says, Rob, do you think the new Ollie 100 to 400 in the end is better than the PL, which I already have. What is a PL? PL. I don't know what a PL is. Hi, mind if I sit on the Australia edition of the live? Oh, hey Plato, how are you? No, come on in. Hi Rob, what is the solution? Oh, there is Indri. I'm sorry. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully that gave you some ideas on how to get started if I ever make a video on it. You don't have to wait for that, right? You can try yourself without spending a boatload of money. Yay, Rob shoots photos. Hi, yes. I decided to try a different time slot. I'll still be back. I don't know what day it is, but I'll be back on Thursday. I don't know what day today is. I'm so confused. Wednesday? What day? Let me look. I think it's yeah, it's Wednesday. Okay. Special edition for Down Under, yes. And I would love to know what lens IS is like on the oh wait, somebody asked me about a Canon, right? Oh, here it is. Plato, did you test? Yes, I am testing it. I'm not done yet. I'm doing the low-hanging fruit, right? What's the phrase? My God, morning is so rough for me. I'm doing the low-hanging fruit right now. Doesn't sound right. I'm doing the easy stuff now, right? ISO comparison. I'm trying to get all fancy with my language, right? And then I mess up and it's worse. I should just say the easy stuff instead of the low-hanging fruit. That sounds weird in the morning. Low-hanging fruit. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm doing ISO comparison right now and dynamic range in a studio setting, which means on my kitchen table or dining room table, because I can control the lighting. And the results are surprising, very interesting. A lot of interesting things. I'll try and make the video today and post it later today, because I have all the footage done or all the testing done. I just have to kind of go over the images and talk about them a little bit. So I made my notes here, right, for the video. Give you a little preview. ISO comparison, some note. Anyway, this is how professional I am, right? I just when I make these videos. But you guys know me, or a lot of you know me by now. I'm just a guy with a camera, right? Oh, Indra, yeah, I do have a video on it though. I forget what it's called. It's titled though appropriately, like what to do if you don't have a mic jack on your camera, something like that. Oh, you have the Panasonic Lumix. Okay. Rob shoots photos. Explain what PL means. Panasonic Lumix. I was trying to figure that out, but I couldn't. What's? I don't know. It remains to be seen. The differences. I know the 100 to 400 Panasonic. I've seen amazing images from it. People are getting terrific shots, and you can only hope that Olympus is at least that or better without the zoom ring issue, because a lot of people are saying the 100 to 400 is a little stiff and uneven. So if Olympus can deliver the same quality with a smooth zoom ring, it's a win. If they can do it and get sharper images, it's a win-win. And if they can bring it at a price under the other, it's win-win-win. It's like that is, Panasonic makes the best lenses, really. I mean, so does Olympus. But Panasonic, their Leica versions are excellent at different price points, right? Like their 25 millimeter lens, f1.7, their 20 and their 25 millimeter, both excellent lenses for less than the Olympus 25 millimeter. I've been eating fruit lately, And now I got all these fruit flies in my house. I gotta think of a way to get rid of those damn things. Because my bug zapper doesn't catch them. John Leach says, can you recommend a decent shotgun microphone for recording birdsong in my garden? Wow, it really depends on your price range. I use the Boya one, but it's not shotgunny enough. It's only about that long. But the longer, the better. Let me look at my shopping cart, not my wish list. I think I may have deleted them by now. Because you know they were just $300-400 shotgun mics. Where's my Amazon? Here it is. Ooh, it's struggling a bit here. Because I'm streaming at the same time. Dang it, I deleted all of the shotgun mics out of my shopping wish list. Sorry, but you know, a good person to ask is Curtis Judd. He has a YouTube channel here. He is sort of my go-to guy when it comes to shopping for microphones. And he has a video on a lot of shotgun mics that he uses, mostly for audio, right? Like close-up audio. But basically the longer the shotgun mic, the more narrow the pickup pattern, right? Just like a rifle or any kind of shotgun. But yeah, the longer the mic, the more narrow the beam. So it'll not pick up all of the ambient noise coming from everywhere else that will drown out the bird song. So just get as long as one as possible. But yeah, the ones I was looking at that he recommended were $300-400, $500. They're very expensive, but they're good because they have to resist radio interference as well. I don't know, out in the woods it may not be an issue, but in a studio he was having problems. So he was testing for radio interference because you think about it, right? The longer the shotgun mic, the more it starts to look like an antenna. So it was picking up radio interference as well. So there's a lot of things to consider, but Curtis Judd is an excellent source for that on microphones. So bird song in your garden. I would about 30 feet. You can, if you want to try low end, the Boya mic that I used. Where is that thing? I just used it the other day. Oh, here it is. Duh. So much crap on my desk. If I can pull it out. But this is the Boya. This is about a $40 or $50 mic. This doesn't do bad. You know, you can try this. This will definitely be better than, you know, an omnidirectional mic. It has a pretty, but it's not very long, right? So the pickup pattern is going to spread out. So if the stuff behind the bird or around that bird in the tree is not too noisy, you might be okay. Honestly, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, the best way to do it is everything is everywhere. I'm so disorganized. Is a wireless microphone system. You put a wireless mic on the bird feeder. This is what I've done. I put a wireless mic on the bird feeder, and then the receiver, you know, I put on the camera, right? So I use that Rode Micro thing, and that worked actually pretty good. That kind of worked. But that's assuming, you know, you have a bird feeder. If you're trying to catch a random bird in a tree or somewhere landing randomly, yeah, that's not going to work. But I think a wireless mic solution would be better, especially at 30 feet. That's close enough for any wireless microphone system. Rob shoot photos. I meant Panasonic Leica. I held back from the Leica 100 to 400 because it's very stiff. Yeah, the stiffness, right? I've heard that. And they're known for weak mounts. Really? Rob, what editing application good for Olympus? I know Olympus Workspace, but for video editing is very limited. Some function is off, like rotating movie, music's. I use DaVinci Resolve, Indri. That's the free version. You know, the paid version is $2.99, which gives you a lot of nice upgrades. But you can use the free version. I've been using that for about 2 years now, and it's been sufficient. I'm getting to the point I might have to buy the paid version, especially if I start doing more video work. But even for my channel, you know, the paid version has some benefits. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve, the free version, is fine. John says, great, thanks for that. I'll check Curtis out too. I have some wireless mics that I could try. Okay, good. Beryl Burns, 500 cockatoos in the tree behind my house is a wonderful. Oh my God. I got up one morning and there was like about 1,000 crows in my backyard. I recorded it too. I caught them. So I grabbed my camera and I caught them just as they were flying away. Because as soon as I opened the door to start recording them, my dog went tearing out, you know. My dog is something, man. She's got a very strong hunter instinct, you know. Give me a second here for coffee is just, man, it takes like an hour for this coffee to really start to feel it. Where are my eyes? Are they? I put eye drops all the time. Sometimes you'll see my videos or my live streams and my eyes are red. It's something I've been dealing with my whole life, just red eyes. Oh, frogs. Rod said he suffers from frogs at night. That's because you have those Olympic-sized swimming pools right in your backyard. Because you have it like that, right, Rod? Frogs love swimming pools. Oh, hi, David. Good morning. Man, you know, I really appreciate you emailing me about the going out to do the sunflowers. I'm gonna try and do something this week with you. So I'll email you back with a couple of days. I might. God, it's just my schedule's so random. Like Monday, I got a photo job. Just that day, they called and I went and did it. And then I spent the next morning editing the photos and the video, and then and he's called me for a couple of more, but it's very random. So it's oh, hey, who the heck is texting me this early in the morning? I never get texts. Oh, it's my buddy Walter. Yeah, he's got to go to work though. Says, oh, but he's here. Hey, Walter. I don't know if you're still here. Oh, just about the Da Vinci. Okay. Anyhow, my buddy Walter, he's a professional photographer here. Oh, that's good. So your schedule's not quite as random outside of going to take pictures, right? That's good. Okay. I'll try, David. I'll just shoot you an email. Actually, email me your cell phone number today. Then I can just text you. I don't know if you text. If you text, email me your cell phone number. Then I can text you because, like I said, everything's like this live stream was kind of random too. I was editing or I was doing the testing on the Canon camera, and I said, you know, it's only like 11:30 right now. I can get about 6 hours of sleep and do a stream. So I just posted up the stream and I said, let me just try it and see what happens. Indri says, Rob, is OMD II Mark, I'm sorry, the OMD EM10 Mark II needs electronic stabilization like Xeon, Ronin, or is mechanical stabilizer good enough? It's good enough for like if you're careful when you're walking. And if you're panning, I have a video actually comparing the EM5 Mark II versus the the EM10 Mark II versus the EM1 Mark II versus the Penf. And the EM1 Mark III is even better than all of those. But out of those three cameras, the EM10 Mark II is the worst. But I also have a video, just search for stabilization on my channel and you'll see a video comparing them. And you can see for yourself how jerky it is with different things. But yeah, if you want to do, if you're going to buy a gimbal, because those things are what, $400 or $500? You know, I don't know, it really depends what kind of video you want to do. But if you're going to spend money on a gimbal, you might as well buy a camera with a mic jack too while you're at it and solve two problems. So give that some thought. If you're just an enthusiast, hobbyist kind of person, I wouldn't spend money on a gimbal. You know, that's just, I bought one. I've used it twice. Excuse me. And because it's just too big and heavy for me. I just don't like mounting the camera on a gimbal, then having to wheel the whole gimbal around. And I bought the handles for it so I can do like this with two hands. That helped a little. But in the end, I said, screw it. I'm just going to put it on a tripod and use a slider. Slider's like $40. And that'll give you a lot of options in terms of getting more cinematic type looks to your images. So I'd avoid a gimbal for now, unless you're doing pro work, you know, and you'll know if you need it or not. Yeah, see, Rod knows. He says getting a Xeon gimbal and use it without image stabilization. However, it can be exhausting after filming continuously for hours. I know. Wolf, how are you? I feel like you've been in my streams before, but haven't been in a long time. Or is this your first time here? How many people is this your first time here? But that name sounds familiar. It really does. Or maybe you've left a comment on one of my videos. Maybe that's all. I do try to read well, up till now I have read every single comment on my videos and tried to respond to as many as I can. But that name looks familiar. Wolf Lund. But glad to have you here. All right. Oh, here's the thing. So this is like, I forget what kind of plate this is called. Manfrotto plate. It's a Manfrotto video tripod head. And this is what I mounted this, and then I mounted this on my video, or on my tripod, and then I panned. No, a slider. Let me show you. Where's my bag? This is a slider. They don't normally come with a tripod head, but this is a slider, right? And oh, I shouldn't put my fingers on this. This is supposed to be smooth. And then the camera then you just slide the camera like this and rotate it. And I like this one. I only paid like 40 bucks for this one. And then it has its own little legs that you can stand it up. So look on Amazon. You'll see these things all over the place. Start with like a 2-foot slider, or how many inches is this? Yeah, this is about 24 inches. I don't know how many centimeters, but I can get it in the frame here, right? It's this big. This is a good size to start with, because I bought like a one that was twice this size, and it was nice, but oh my God, you need like a $400 tripod to hold it. This one you can get away with most like $200 tripods or $100 tripods, and it won't kill your tripod. Uh, but I bought that big heavy butt tripod back here because I bought that big heavy slider, and it's not necessary. I found a 2 foot is good enough, and then I can bring my normal tripod. I don't have to bring out the heavy guns. So, as enthusiasts, yeah, get a little slider about that big. You'll need to get a video head, tripod head for it. They sell some for like $30 that are good enough. So you're looking at about $70 for a slider with a tripod head, and and then and then you can have your own tripod. If you have a semi decent one now, you can get away with that setup. Okay, well, so you've been in a couple times. Okay, I thought I've seen you before. Indria, skateboard and some rope makes up for cheap slider. Don't try downhill though. Yeah, you can get all kinds of creative, right? Skateboard. I've seen people use like those rollerblade things. All anything that slides will work, right? And you can put your camera on. But for $40 or $70 with a head on it, you'll get much better results without risking your camera's life by putting it on a skateboard. Shopping trolley, true. That's true. Yep, all kinds of ways. All right. Well, a lot of video talk today, right? Which is not normally the case for my streams. I'll talk more about video maybe on my channel. I don't know if I should do it in streams or just in an actual video. But I'm not a hardcore video guy, I mean, I can make a video, but it doesn't make me like able to teach how to do video, right? Rod would probably be better than that. Rod Meta knows probably a lot more about shooting video than I do, because he immediately appreciated, like John, the white balance issues I was having, right? Because they've had to deal with it. What do I think about the lens IS on I haven't tested it yet. But it doesn't seem any better or worse than any other lens IS system like on my Fuji. And the camera is so heavy. Let me rephrase that. The lens is so heavy, the one that I have. Let me go get it. I mean, look how I have to hold it by the lens to show it to you guys, because if I hold it any other way, I feel like I'm gonna drop it. Look at the size of this thing compared to this is the Olympus equivalent, even more than equivalent. This is a 14 to 150, and this is the 24 to 240. So the camera body itself, I mean, I have an L bracket on here. The camera itself is not too big, right? If I just hold it, where's my EM10? Unplug the dang thing. All right. So here's the EM10, right? With an L bracket on it, and it actually looks tiny next to this Canon RP, but trust me, it's really not that much different overall. It's hard to See what I mean though? It's not like night and day. Like if it was the body only, I gotta stop putting thumbprints on my lenses. I keep holding the camera like this. And then when I go out for a photo shoot, I forget to clean the lens, and then I have to use the haze tool to clean up the images before I deliver them. So professional. Oh, anyhow, I hope none of my clients are watching. Anyhow, uh, yeah, and then when you zoom this thing out, oh my God, you know, it's like this thing is this. I forgot what the question was. Oh, lens IS. Yeah, so even, you know, lens IS on a lens like this is necessary, particularly when you're zooming out. But I don't know how to test for it at all the different zoom lengths. I'm kind of, it's normally, you know, you hold the camera with two hands, one on the lens. This is your typical like proper way to hold a camera. So all the weight is here, right? Not on your right hand. And then you just use this hand to kind of push all the buttons. So what I'm trying to think of a way to test for it. I've seen other people do it where they take like 10 or 20 shots handheld at different shutter speeds and see how many they got sharp. That's probably a very pragmatic way to test for it, but it's not scientific, right? Because everybody's hand holding ability is different. But all things being the same, meaning that the photographer, maybe it's a legitimate way to kind of convey what my thoughts are on it. I'm still a little bit mixed on how to test image stabilization. I mean, the answer really for me, regardless of image stabilization, has always been just use a faster shutter speed. And then Rob Shoot Photo says, how about the EM10-4? It's rumored to only have contrasted deck. Deal breaker, or would you still buy it even though you've got... I'm not going to buy an EM10 Mark IV. I just... Yeah, I can't. I'll have to see it when it comes out. I mean, never say never because I have terrible gas. But I didn't buy the EM10 Mark III because the EM10 Mark II is so good. And I didn't care about the 4K video. If I did, I would get the EM10 Mark III. But now that I have the EM5 Mark III, the EM1 Mark III, I don't see a need to buy an EM10 Mark IV. I mean, I would love to buy one just to make tutorials and things for it, but I just don't have that kind of money to do things like that. Just to buy a camera just for the tutorials. Because tutorials make, you know, nothing really. The videos on YouTube and stuff really don't make much. And I don't make a whole lot professionally either. You know, I'm poor anyway. So I would buy it. Like I bought like that XT30. I should sell that and get a EM10 Mark IV, right? But I can't sell anything either. I got all kinds of first world problems. Okay, so let's just not go there today. Oh, Wolf, you're getting a 60mm macro. Awesome. For 200 bucks, man. That's nice. It's not a lens I own, but I hear it's a fantastic lens. Nature with music. Just got back from the dentist. Oh my goodness. You know, one of my videos. I just came back from the dentist. I went from the dentist to the park, and did a video. And the whole side of my face was numb in that video. It's the one where I was talking about the wide angle lens attachment. This one here. I would take it off the shelf, but like 10 other things would fall down if I did right now. I gotta clean this room. Oh my God. Anyway, but yeah, whole side of my face because he did a root canal. Not a root canal, but something just before you do a root canal and put a cap on. Maybe it was a root canal and a cap. I don't know. Anyway, it was $2,000 to fix whatever it was. I hadn't been to the dentist in like 25 years, and that was the only tooth. He said all my other teeth are excellent, you know. I'm very diligent about my teeth, except for going to the dentist, but fortunately it's paid off. I just had that one cavity, and it's not even my fault because it was a cavity from when I was a little kid, and they used to use silver, right, for the fillings, and the silver broke. So food was getting underneath the other part of the cap that didn't break off and created a cavity there because my toothbrush and floss couldn't get to that one part underneath the silver filling. And so we're not for that, right? And that filling lasted 30 years. So he replaced all the fillings on this side with that, like the white stuff. Anyway, nobody cares about my dental work, right? Again, first world problems, right? Let's see. Everybody's here. Rod says, because Andy was asking about a gimbals, and Rod Meta says, I've used a number of gimbals and find the Zion Weeble S the only one I like in the real world. Otherwise, I recommend changing your shooting style to tripod. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of tricks you can do with a tripod in video. I mean, you can do a lot of things without a gimbal. I mean, look at every movie made in the 1980s, all the camera work that they did. They didn't use gimbals, I don't think. Maybe they did. I don't know nothing about movie industry, but you can do a lot of things with just a monopod and a camera, right? And throw in a slider on a decent tripod, or you can just put the tripod on a table and do slider moves. There's all kinds of things. So watch a lot of videos on sliders and using a monopod for video, monopod tricks. And just buy the cheapest stuff now, like a $30 video tripod head with a $40 slider. I mean, maybe that's not cheap for some people, but compared to the price of a gimbal of $400 or $500, yeah, and you'll get a lot more use out of it than I think a gimbal. And Nature says, my biggest complaint about the 100 to 400 Panasonic is the stiff and jerky zoom. Yeah, everybody says that. I think even Matty Salanto, right? He's the Panasonic channel. Talked about that. So if he said it, you know it's true. So if you guys shoot Panasonic at all, you know, Matty Salanto has a great channel on Panasonic stuff, but he also has some really good videos on some interesting topics. He's been picking some good topics lately. You know, that are photography related, not necessarily related to gear. Which is awesome. You know, I've been kind of out of the video scene lately. I've been doing like one video a week, if that, and then streaming like all the time. But I'm trying to do this video on this Canon versus Olympus thing. So I started, like I said, I got the footage done, or the test shots done. I just have to do a little bit of footage and B-roll. Hopefully I can get that out today. If anyone wants to see cheap stabilization, check out Making Peter Jackson's Bad Taste, zero budget movie. His dad played the zombie. Oh, that's awesome. Rob Shoot Photo says, place your bets on robtrek getting an EM10 Mark IV when his Mark II breaks. My Mark II is already kind of broken. Like every time I turn it on, the date is reset to 0. And the EVF, auto EVF, where it switches back and forth, is gone, and there was something else not right with it. But I've dropped that thing so many times, you know, so it's not fair to say, it's not representative, I think, of Olympus quality control issues. I think it's representative of me dropping them all the time. So I have to be so careful with this Canon because I'm just borrowing this from my cousin. Man, if I drop this, you know, you drop it, you buy it, literally, right? I would have to buy him another one. Oh, that would suck. Because I'm trying to buy a laptop now, which costs probably more than this camera, but still, that would set me back. Are you doing any more videos for the EM1 Mark III? Yeah, I'll get around to it. I'm just now, since I've been using it professionally in my work, because before I used the EM10 and EM1 Mark II, I've just used it on my photo shoots or my professional work lately, so I'm starting to get a much better feel for getting around the camera and giving some more, you know, real life feedback on it and using it. And, you know, and some settings, you know, right? Best settings and how, you know, it's still a bit fuzzy what I'm going to do exactly. Because it's not really a beginner camera, which is kind of what a lot of my videos are for, very absolute beginners. So I feel like, you know, beginner videos on an EM1 Mark III would be kind of wasted. Well, I feel like it might be a waste of time because most people buying EM1 Mark III are not absolute beginners, right? So I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence when they, you know, they see best settings for the EM1 Mark III and then they come in and say, well, auto white balance, you know, duh, right? I mean, you know where I'm coming from, right? But at the same time, there are some very tricky things in the settings that are, you know, not obvious from reading the manual, or like I did the video on the custom 1 through 4 settings on the mode dial, right? There's a lot of caveats to that. The power bank thing, you know, video I made on it, those are very helpful, I think, for anyone with that camera. So actually using it more now in my pro work, I'm starting to get a feel for things that someone might want to know, or something that might be actually helpful rather than telling you to set your camera and aperture priority, right? uh Nature says, I had an issue with my M1 Mark II yesterday. Did some fast, okay, L-burst shots, turned the camera back off, and then the camera would not switch back on again. Uh, Sometimes it's because the camera hasn't finished writing the pictures to the memory card. So definitely, you know, if after a minute or so the camera doesn't come back on, and you're sure that the pictures have written to the memory card, take the battery out, put it back in. I mean, any kind of complex electronic device, you know, the solution is always turn it off and turn it back on again. In this case, you would have to remove the battery. And you could also remove the battery, turn the camera on without the battery to discharge any residual, you know, voltage or electronics or amps or whatever they call it in the camera. Turn it off, then put the battery in and turn it back on, and that may solve the problem. So try that, but it might, you know, if you tried to turn it back on right after doing a burst shot, it might be because it didn't finish writing to the card. Okay, Rod, we'll see you later. Yeah, talk about problems. That's why I'm single. At least that's what I tell myself, right? I'm probably single because nobody loves me. Nature of Music says, yes, I agree about your comment. Also now reformatting every card after downloading photos. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to reformat, right? I think Robin Wong likes to just do erase all. but because in the root folder of his SD card, he keeps his contact information in case, you know, somebody finds his camera, they can give it back to him. That ain't gonna happen, and at least not where I live. I tell you. You know, it's like I got a postcard in the mail from the county about, you know, uh reminding us to lock our doors. I mean, because there's increased crime going on, and they said, please remember to lock your doors on your home and in your car. There's been a number of blah blah blah. Uh, so they actually sent out a letter to the residents in the county to be extra careful. That's the kind of neighborhood I live in. It's really frustrating sometimes. That's why I haven't been out vlogging lately, because of, you know, what's been happening here. Just so much drama, you know? Oh, thank you, nature. I'm gonna backtrack a little, see if there's any. Okay, that's what you were talking about, nature. I was answering your question. I agree about your comment. Also, now reformatting card downloading. Yeah. Okay, I'm all caught up. Actually, there's actually a good number of people, more than I expected. I thought there'd be like 20 people here. Right now it's showing I got 50 something. It's great. I'm glad you guys are here. And I'm a little awake. I'm really hungry now though, because I get up usually and I eat something, but I didn't even have time for that today. um Oh, you know, I got a donut. Well, I'm not going to eat on front. I hate it when people, I'm not a big fan of even drinking coffee in front of you guys on the camera. Um, but because I'm talking all the time, I guess it's okay because people are always drinking while they're doing shows. But eating, I don't get it. I see some live streamers eating while they do their live stream. I mean, if it's a cooking live stream, yeah, okay, right? But if you're just jibber jabbering about whatever your topic is that has nothing to do with cooking, why are you eating on camera? It's just gonna make everybody else hungry. Oh, I'm getting hungry talking about being hungry. Thanks, John. But yeah, it's oh, I gotta do something about my cushion here. It's very complicated doing live streams. You gotta worry about your seat cushion, your lighting. I don't know about this back screen. I guess it's an indication of social distancing, right? Sort of a subliminal message about social distancing is go into space where no one can hear you scream. Oh, thank you, Roberto. I appreciate it. I need to get some more liquids though, because I'm still a little scratchy here. I hope this is not a sign of what my voice is going to sound like when I get really old. All right, well, I don't want to say I hope not, but you know how older people, their voice can get really crackly, right? As they get older. And I've noticed it more lately that, I mean, you know, when you're young, man, you can just roll out of bed and do a marathon and you're fine. But man, it's like not that old compared to a lot of you guys, right? You guys, I could be like your kid, right? But still, you remember what it's like to be in your 50s, right? And you probably wish you could be 50s again. You would do things differently, wouldn't you, right? Just like when I look back at my 30s, I would do things differently if I was that age again. Oh, but that's life, right? Just experiencing life at every age is always, it's always fun to look back now that you have this experience, right? Ah, nature says beer and wine is okay, but not eat. You have a loud voice, nature. Man, you're lucky. I'm actually a very soft-spoken person in real life. People always ask me, "What? Huh? And I have to speak up so they can hear me. Hopefully doing these streams and videos, I've overcome a lot of that. But if you watch my early videos, like a younger robtrek, you'll see that I'm very soft-spoken. I still am, though, more or less. William Kras, how are you? Lurking in Virginia. Enjoy your videos always. Going back watching them. Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of replays on my live streams, you know, a few hours after, which is always nice. 150 to 400 will require weight training. I know. I mean, or my God, this Canon. So yeah, part one is going to be comparing the Canon sort of ISO comparison, dynamic range against my EM5 Mark III. I think in another video I'm going to talk about the ergonomics and maybe pricing. I don't know if those two go together too well. Ergonomics alone would take a long time and some features. And then maybe another video about the entire system in general, what's available, what it costs, because my God, $3,000 for a 50mm lens. I need a meme or a clip from a movie, but if they lost their mind, $3,000 every lens from Canon RF. They got one lens that's like $500. I mean, are they? Oh, Nature says he was in the live music business as a sound engineer with my 6 kilowatt PA rig, so needed a loud voice. Okay. Yeah, you guys have so much experience, you know, that I don't have. And it's always, you know, it's always interesting the little things we pick up from each other, right? Because I might know where a button is on a camera that you've never seen before. But then you'll talk about like sound systems and I'll think, oh, I never thought of that, you know? Because we all like to think we're fairly confident, right? And we can do our due diligence and research and make a competent decision or buying decision on something. But then when you ask somebody that knows what they're doing or has experience in it, they'll be like, no, I know this looks good, but this is what you want, right? Oh, comparison of menus. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. I think someone else, yeah, have to request, because I put a post up in my community and on my forum about what do you want me to cover. And half of them was about ISO and dynamic range, because everybody says dynamic range on a Canon sucks. At least with the sensor in that camera. And they want to know how compared to the Olympus. And then the other half was about ergonomics and menus and things like that and features. So it's going to take at least two videos to kind of cover the differences. And maybe a third video to maybe summarize or do an all-day shoot with the camera and just compare pictures side by side, because the Canon colors are renowned, right, so to speak. Some people love them to death and will buy the camera only for the colors, even though it may be lacking in some other features that they're looking for. And so I'll do that. I'm not going to pass judgment on Canon colors. They seem fine to me. My eyes aren't good enough to really tell that much difference. They're really good at saying, okay, I need to make this the same and this the same, like symmetry and colors need to match in photography. But if somebody showed me a picture from a Canon, a Fuji, and an Olympus side by side, I would have a hard time telling you which camera took which based on the colors in this scene, because I'm not that sensitive to it. Thanks, Rob. I must go for a while. Okay, Andrew. Hope you're still here when I'm back in 50. I might be. What time? It's 8:30, so it's been a little over an hour. Oh, this is a long stream. Wow. Time just goes by fast when you're having fun, right? Nature says, I think the 150 to 400 Pro lens will not be cheap. Yeah. Anyone like to guess the price? I'm going to say because of the inbuilt converter, that's worth 500. The 150 to 400 is probably 3,000. So you add the converter and the thing together. I'm going to say 3,500. 34.99. The Price is Right. 34.99. Remember that game show, The Price is Right? I'm going to say 34.99 is my guess. Because you look at the 300mm f4 Pro, that's like $2,400, and I'm talking US dollars. And this is a 150 to 400 zoom, and they painted it white just so they can jack up the price more. Because if they painted that lens black, people are going to be, you know, there's just this perception that a white lens has to be good and expensive. So I think they painted it white just for marketing purposes. But I would think by all accounts, if they painted it black, they'd probably only get about $2,500 for it. But because they painted it white, they can add another $1,000. My guess. I don't know. Does that make sense? That's my logic. $34.99. I'm going with that. Nobody else has a guess on the price? I'm surprised. I've heard everything. 4,000, 10,000. If they charge $10,000 for that lens, that doesn't make any sense. You think it'll be closer to 4,000 pounds? So that's like almost 5,000 US or $4,500 US. Wow, I would be shocked. Man, when you start getting in the 4,000, 5,000 price range here, nobody's gonna buy that lens at that price. At $34.99, people might stretch, right? They'll be stretching, but at 4 or 5, $5.99. Wow. The full frame equivalents are 10 to 15K. 7,000 US. So I'm way off to everybody else. Let me think about it for a minute, because, you know, that's a good point about the full frames being 10 to 15K. I don't even know what aperture it's supposed to be. But with the built-in teleconverter, they were talking. I mean, $34.99 might be too low. That's true, if I really think about it. But 7,000, 6,000, wow. That's going to be like, sort of like, who's going to buy that? Who would buy such a lens at that price? Yeah, David's kind of in the closer to 4K like me. Jimmy said, yeah, I think I saw that comment on one of his live streams. He's going to sleep with it when he gets it. Oh, hey, Roberto. Yeah. I decided to just get, it's really early here for me. Right now it's 8:39 a.m. I decided to get up early and just do a live stream for a time zone for people that are just, you know, kind of out there. Or vice versa. I'm out here and you guys are normal, right? Normal time zone. I'm the one that's way off. Wow, you've been saving for a year for the 150 to 400, man. I'm, you know, there's so much hype built around it. I'm a little worried. Because think about it, Canon just came out with what, their 800mm f11, and that's less than $1,000. I mean, f11, but that price? It's interesting. Yeah, wildlife, they'll pay. Yeah, there's some primes out there that are expensive, you know, but man, Olympus can't do that. It's kind of like the EM1X, you know, that guy Jay Christina and Fro and everybody else that talked about that when that camera came out. They're like $3,000 for a micro four thirds, you know. I think the same thing's going to happen if they price this lens at $6,000-7,000. People are going to be like, $6,000 for a micro four thirds lens. It's not going to get good press. I mean, it's not deserved because Olympus makes excellent camera and lenses. But there's this stigma about micro four thirds that it should be cheap, right? Because of the sensor size. And, you know, I seriously doubt it's going to get good press when it does come out, especially with them selling off, potentially, it hasn't happened yet, but selling the camera division off. It's just too many barriers there on a media side, media, you know, social media, whatever media side of it, that, you know, the press is not going to be good. And you throw on a high price on top of that, wow. 4 a.m. ain't normal. No. Is that what time it is for you, Frank? I'm sorry. I still have my Thursday, Sunday streams. People need to remember you pay for quality. I know, but it's very different here. At least, you know, it's not the same like in Japan. I think people pay for quality. Here in the US, people pay for value. You know, we want quality stuff, but we want the best bang for the buck, right? So we're willing to compromise a little bit on the quality if we can get a little bit more on the feature set. Just my kind of feeling of, my personal opinion about the consumers here in the United States is we're very value orientated. This has to have this particular processor, like for laptops, this video card, this resolution, bang, it has to be this price, you know? Whereas I think like in Japan, you know, that's why they made the Penf, because they wanted to make a quality camera. And all their cameras are quality, but the Penf is sort of the pinnacle halo of that, in my opinion, of Japanese mentality of making a quality camera. And it doesn't have to have every single feature or the latest features. It has to be well built. Just like all their cameras, but the Penf was sort of their like next level, next little tiny step in that direction. Hello, Peter from Maine. Been playing around with shutter speeds. Any suggestion as to what household items could be used to capture motion? For fast motion, I'd use a fan, right? If you have a tabletop fan. That's, you know, if you need faster motion. If you just need slow motion, just roll a can of beans or something on a table. Or a remote control car sometimes. Like my nephews have this track that it's not remote control, but the cars run around a track. You can control the speed and everything. That's another idea. Another idea might be, you know, swinging a coin on a string. You know, that might work. I don't know. There's a couple of ideas. I don't, you know, when I was doing some shutter speed testing, I used a fan, and on the fan, I took it off. But on one of the blades of the fan, I put a piece of black tape, right, on the fan so I could see the black tape moving. Maybe it was green tape, painter's tape, moving around the blade, right? And then I would compare high-speed shutter versus silent shutter mode to see the warping effect that you get sometimes. So a fan is really good, but put a piece of black tape along the center so you can see how it bends, the rolling shutter effect. I suspect people will be afraid of continued investment. Yeah, like I said, the uncertainty, like the press is not going to be good. Happy being an amateur with primes and zooms. Yes. Tell me to get a full frame 800 millimeters. Tell them to get a full frame 800 millimeter lens for less. Yeah, that surprised me, the pricing. I think I saw it for like less than 1,000. And Nature says the sensor size should not really make much difference to the price, but guess people seem to be under the impression it is not as good as full frame. Uh, you know, pricing is really tricky with cameras, and I'll talk about that. I talked a little bit about it a couple of years ago in my, like, when Tony was saying Micro Four Thirds is dead. Glenn, how are you? Many people who score an M43 don't know a good IQ offer. Yeah. They can't tell the difference in normal light. I mean, honestly, normal light, it's hard to tell the difference between a cell phone and Micro Four Thirds or full frame, right? Um, I mean, everybody can be a photographer in good light, or let me rephrase it. Anybody can use any camera in good light. But being a photographer is about, you know, capturing images and moments and life and composition. You know, there's like a million other things about doing photography than just having good light. Bob, how are you? You're not normally here. Well, you're always here. I'm surprised you're here though. It's so early for me. Bob is always here in every stream that I do, but this is the first time I've done it in the morning, so I'm a little surprised to see you here this early. Does anybody have experience with the Sigma 135 to 400? I do not. I've seen it used for 360. That's tough. I mean, Sigma's not known for sharp lenses back in the day. I mean, all their art lenses now seem to get a lot of good reviews, but Rod, you're back. I trust the Olympus gear will last me many years, but I am concerned about software file. Nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about software support. Uh, you know, it'll always be there. Somebody'll come up with a I mean, they still have support for every camera ever made, digital camera, as far as I know. If I load up my Canon camera from 10 years ago, my little S100, or my Fujifilm from 15 years ago, the files, my software could still read those files. So 15 years from now, they'll still be able to read everything. Don't worry about it. I would love if Olympus made similar to the X100V, fixed lens and all the cool unique Olympus features. Yeah. I doubt it though. It's not a big seller. You know, like the Panasonic LX100. Panasonic still cranks those out, but I don't know how they sell in in reality. And Olympus is just not in a position to be experimenting, right? I think the built-in teleconverter for the 150 to 400 is a little excessive, given that it's compatible with the MC20 already. Just like, yeah, I mean, really, they teleconverters, and what's the opposite of that? Those focal reducers, right? Those things are already built into almost every lens for every focal length. They just don't tell you that it's designed into the lens. Because what does a teleconverter do, right? It's basically adding a couple lenses to magnify the image onto the sensor. And most zoom lenses, or most long-range zoom lenses, I'm losing my vocabulary, have teleconverters built in, but they don't call them teleconverters, it's just part of the overall lens design. So I feel like this teleconverter thing in the 150 to 400 is kind of a marketing trick, you know, because all they did was take all they did was make a lens design and be able to turn it on and off somehow. So maybe it's not a trick. Maybe it is a big deal. I'm maybe underestimating the engineering or designed to make something like that where you can switch a teleconverter on and off. So yeah, I take back everything I just said. But I agree with your point. It may be a little excessive. I mean, who needs that kind of reach? Like I said, it's a very, that's a, you know, that's a very specialized lens. And John says the Sigma 150 is an exceptional lens for insects. Okay, I'm not familiar with that lens. Great to see our friends from Australia. Yes, awesome. You're switching to Sony? Okay. Just kidding. It's okay. I mean, honestly, use whatever camera works for you, right? Camera's not just about specs. Sometimes it's about the ergonomics and the features, or just how it makes you feel when you look at it. Sometimes it's just about the specs, you know, and squeezing every little bit of technology available to mankind into a camera. You know, I get a lot of kick out of that too, where I say, you know, they can put that in a camera and they've done it and it's really cool. I'm going to buy it for that little one thing. And if that brings you joy and happiness, you know, why not? If you have the money, buy whatever makes you happy or is fun, because you know, life is short. Just do what makes you happy. I mean, obviously not at the expense of your family or other things that are important in your life, but if you have the means, um, do whatever makes you happy. Life is short. And Plato says Olympus cannot afford to make niche camera. Yes, the fact that they think any company can in current, yeah, yeah, it's tough right now in all businesses to do any kind of experimenting, right? Um, Olympus can, let's see. Nature says having a switchable teleconverter is very useful doing wildlife. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I take back everything I said. Not enough time to take off the lens, adding a teleconverter. Yeah, see, man, you make a lot of good points there. See, I didn't really think it through when I started my little rant. So that's why I reneged everything. What about the weight if you have a bad back? Use a tripod with a tripod collar. And then bring a helper with you to carry all your gear with you to follow you around. That's all I can think of. Like if you have like a nephew, yeah, bring their butt along to help you carry all your gear with you. I just hope there's more compact weatherproofing primes for the M5 series. That'll make a great travel camera. Pro lens on the M5 are a little bit on the front end. Yeah, I agree. I think the F4 series lenses coming out are sort of to, you know, push Olympus in that direction. Looking for a Sherpa or caddy. I know, right? Uh, yeah, you definitely have to get your your younger nephews or grandkids into photography, and you say, "Hey, let's go out for a photo walk." They get all excited. Then you give them your bag. Say, "Hey, carry this for me." Oh, is there an upgrade? David says he can't believe the live chat's gone on this long without talking about an upgrade to the Penf. That's true. Is there an upgrade coming? There's some new rumors on that. Okay, John, we'll see you later. I've been on a while. I'll end this in a few minutes. You would need a bigger car. That's right, Rod. You said you drive a Miata, right? God, I want a Miata so bad, but it's just I can't do it right now. I want to buy a computer. Computers are getting expensive when you start to really look into things that I want to get in my computer, and it's like, my God. Auto coffee too. It's not good. Hi, Ken Kun. Ken Kun Bros. Oh, interesting. Man, there's like more people here now than when I started. I don't get it. Just when I'm ready to like hang things up. Maybe I'll just take a 5-minute break and come back. Uh because it's been almost 2 hours now, right? Oh, you have a Ford Transit? Somehow I thought you had a Miata. Uh, must be Rob Shoots Photos has the Miata. I can't remember. I got on a little tangent about buying a Miata one day, and everybody was telling me they had a Miata. I was like, oh, that's awesome. My granddaughter is into photography and is going to university to do TV, film, and does sometimes carry a few of my lenses. Yes. Ah, you don't know any news about the Penf either, huh, David? Um, oh, you're watching Ford versus Ferrari. I haven't seen that one yet. Not really my style of movie though. I'm more of a kung fu sci-fi guy. Um, action film. I mean, Ford versus Ferrari, that's kind of a car racing kind of film. I don't know. The previews didn't draw me in though. Looks like a great movie, but I'd rather watch like Doctor Who or some vintage sci-fi and vintage kung fu flicks, right? Action flicks. You know, I love those old Shaolin Temple versus Master Revenge type stuff. And and then I like the vintage sci-fi where everything, I mean, I like the vintage sci-fi. I've always liked it in general. But now that I've gotten into photography and videography, I think it's really interesting. How did they do that back in the 70s, right? How did they film that special effect? I mean, it's like 2000, well, it's 2020 now, right? And I would struggle to do those same effects with all the gear that I have now. And it's because I don't know how, right? Oh my God, thank you, Beryl. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, Kubrick was the master. Yeah. What is Kubrick? Must be something to do with that Ford versus Ferrari. Bob says, have you used the M5 Mark 1? I just bought a used one for 200. Yeah, you mentioned that. No, I have not. I've never used it. It looks like an EM10 in a lot of ways, right? 16 megapixel tilt screen. But the EM5 has that special hot shoe where you can mount like a mic jack or an EVF, or I guess it's supposed to do special things. I've never used one, but if you look at the images from the Mark 1 series of cameras, they look really almost as good, if not as good as the Mark 2s and 3s at this point. Camera tech has not changed that much in 10 years. I mean, sure, we have shutter speeds and we have theoretical higher ISOs, but at base ISO in good light, or any light really, at base ISO, cameras from 10 years ago are just as competent as cameras today. Honestly, I can't see much difference in the photography. I mean, my old Pentax, which is 10 or 15 years old, takes great pictures. And it's only 10 or 12 megapixels. Uh-oh. My allergies are starting to bite me a little bit. Any movie with Bigfoot in it is a great... Yeah, Bigfoot. Yeah, paranormal type movies I watch time to time. By the way, I recommend Olympus Ibis to take photos of Sasquatch. Well, I think it was Henderson, or I forget the guy's name. He's a comedian. He said, the problem with Bigfoot is blurry. It's not the photographer. You could be taking a sharp image, like you're spot on with focus, but he's still blurry because Bigfoot is blurry. That's the problem. It's not the photographer's fault. Rob, in the market for 1 or 2 zoom lenses to cover everything, what do you recommend? Which camera do you have? So if you have like the smaller cameras, the M5s, M10s, in the spirit of staying small and light, you know, that 12 to 45 f4 Pro lens looks really good. And on the tele side, I think still the 40 to 150 kit lens, the f4, is a good choice. And that'll get you covered from 12 millimeters up to 150 millimeters for about $500 for both. I forget what the 12 to 45 lens costs, but those two lenses won't set you back too much. If the 12 to 45 is out of budget, then the 14 to 42 kit lens is honestly good enough. For the 12 to 32 kit lens from Panasonic, I think is a little better than the Ollie version. And the 40 to 150 kit lens. Those two lenses will take you really far. If money no object, and weight is no problem, then 12 to 40 Pro and 40 to 150 Pro. Those two would be an excellent combination. Oh, so EM10 Mark II. Yeah, if you want to upgrade from your kit lens, the 12 to 45 f4 looks like a really good option. And then on the tele side, the only option really, in my opinion, still is the 40 to 150 kit lens for $99. I haven't seen anything without really getting crazy in price and size and weight that matches that lens. So, all right. Any other questions? Because I'm getting really hungry now. I have to go. I have to go eat. One or more serious note, has anyone tried high res for Astro? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the problem with high res is that the high res shot mode is limited to ISO 800, I think. So I don't know if that would work, because your shutter speed would have to be really fast, and you may not be able to gather enough light with a fast shutter speed at ISO 800 with high-res shot mode, even though it takes like 8 or 16 pictures. I don't know if that would be enough. Worth a try, though. Next time it's been cloudy. It's going to be cloudy all week, I think, because there's a tornado or hurricane or something on the East Coast right now where I live. So I think it's going to be cloudy all week as it makes its way up to where I am. But that's a good question, though, because you definitely get less noise with high-res shot mode, right? In low light. Interesting. You guys always think of things I should try. But okay, you guys have a great week. The rest of the week, I'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, at my 3 p.m. time slot, you know, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And I've already put up the link below to submit your images for doing the photo editing, because on Thursdays I do live chat and photo editing. I also do it on Sundays. And those are my normal time slots. I'll try and do one early in the morning for me. Every other week. I don't know if I can do it every week, but if I go to bed early, I'll post a link up and say, okay, I'm gonna be here tomorrow morning. So at least there's some notice. And if it works out and I can get onto a schedule, I'll do it more regular. So I really appreciate everybody that showed up today. It was great to see some of my regulars here and lots of new people, I hope. It's been great having you. And we'll see you guys again maybe tomorrow.